शुभम जी, कर दिया मैंने चालू, है ना?
हाँ ठीक है, थैंक यू।
हाँ।
So we'll wait for 2 minutes and then we'll start. Uh, we'll wait for the others to come. Okay. All right. So we will start. So what we have covered till now. Before that, so this is the workshop on introduction to metaheuristics, and today is the third session, which is on population-based metaheuristics. I hope I'm audible. You can just write in the chat that you can hear me properly, and then we'll proceed. Okay. So am I audible? Okay, I suppose I am audible, so I'll start. So I'm Shubham Kishri, a PhD student and a PMRF fellow in the Department of Management Sciences, IIT Kanpur. Today we will cover the fundamentals of P-Metaheuristics, then move on to study evolutionary algorithm and see one example, that is genetic algorithm as a evolutionary algorithm. Then we'll discuss one algorithm on swarm intelligence, which is ant colony optimization. This is the workshop schedule. So in the first day, we have covered introduction to optimization, search spaces, objective space, exact method, approximate method. Then we moved on to discuss the introduction to metaheuristics, which had heuristics and versus metaheuristics, greedy algorithms, solution representation. We saw how to represent a solution. Then we moved on to discuss aspects of single solution metaheuristics, which are neighborhoods, fitness, landscape analysis. In yesterday's class, we discussed on single solution metaheuristics. We covered local search, then we moved on to simulated annealing, Tabu search, and we had time, therefore we covered variable neighborhood descent. In today's session, the idea is to start with the basics of population-based metaheuristics, and then we'll move on to see one example of evolutionary algorithm, which is genetic algorithm, and then we'll study ant colony optimization. Okay. In any point, if you have any doubt, you can just write in the text. I'll try to answer your questions. All right. Any questions from the previous classes in these topics? After sessions, you might have gone through the slides, and if you have any questions, you can just post the questions regarding anything on day one and day two. Okay. So I guess I can proceed then. All right. So workshop material will be available in this website, and this is the reference book I'm using. About me, I am a PhD scholar in the Department of Management Sciences. This is a website, and this is my LinkedIn profile link, and you can email me anytime. I'll try to answer your queries. Okay, so this is the first slide on population-based metaheuristics. Till now, we have only covered single solution metaheuristics and its basics, the fundamentals of single solution metaheuristics. Some of those fundamentals will be required here as well, like representation, neighborhood, and so on and so forth. We'll see what are those and how are they related to population-based metaheuristics. So first we'll start with the fundamentals or basics of population-based metaheuristics. Overview. We start with an initial population of solutions. In the single solution metaheuristics, the algorithm works with one solution, but over here we will work with a population of solutions. Then first we initialize a population and then we iteratively apply two phases, generation phase and replacement phase. So from an initial solution, we will generate another solution. And now we have, so at generation 1, I have the initial solution. At generation 2, I have generated a new solution, that is generation 2. Now I have to replace. So this was my original population. Since I have generated a new population, I have to make another population. So from this child, I will create generation 2. Actually, this is not generation 2, this is children of generation 1. All right. So these are children of generation 1. I'll write it as 1 dashed. So from population 1, population generation 1, we created its children 1 dashed, and using 1 and 1 dashed, we created generation 2. From generation 2 again, we will create its children, and then we will come to generation 3. So it has two phases. First, it is generation phase. So this is the generation phase and replacement phase. So the original population is replaced by a new generation, which is generation 2. Is it clear? Okay. So this is the high level idea of population based metaheuristics. Process continues until a stopping criteria is fulfilled. Okay, so we will discuss about what kind of stopping criterias are there in population based metaheuristics. Key features: it can be memoryless or it can have memory. We will see. So in single solution metaheuristics, we saw that we have memory when we are talking about taboo search. Over here also, some metaheuristics can have memory and some will not. So in our today's class, we will see what kind of memory each has, what memory genetic algorithm has, what memory and colony optimization has. These are generally inspired by nature. Examples are evolutionary algorithm. So genetic algorithm is one kind of evolutionary algorithm. It has come from the idea of evolution of species. Okay. And colony optimization, it is comes under the broad class of swarm intelligence. Particle swarm optimization, both are actually swarm intelligence algorithm. B colony optimization is also intelligence. Artificial immune system, these are inspired by biological systems. This artificial immune system algorithm is also inspired by biological systems. Okay. The so we will compare S metaheuristics and P metaheuristics. So can you again tell the difference between, yeah, so that is what this slide is. The difference between single solution metaheuristics and population based metaheuristics. So first of all, single solution metaheuristics focuses on improving a single solution iteratively. So it works with one solution and it tries to move to a better solution. And from that solution, it again tries to move to a better solution. So it only works with one solution. It is a single solution metaheuristics. It iteratively tries to improve the solution. In P-Metaheuristics, we maintain a population. So from this population of solutions, we evolve this population one generation after another. So from one population, I will evolve that population to become the next generation. This generation again evolves to become another generation, and so on and so forth. So single solution metaheuristics work with single solution, and P-Metaheuristics work with we can call it P-Metaheuristics or population based metaheuristics. It works with a population of generation. Single solution metaheuristics exploration is based on local neighborhood structures. In single solution metaheuristics, neighborhood structures are important because that is how one solution is moved to another solution. So from this solution, I'm moving to this solution because this is a neighbor of this solution. So local neighborhood structures are important in single solution metaheuristics. It is suitable for problems where single solution can be refined progressively. Okay, so examples are local search, simulated annealing, tabu search. We have seen these algorithms. P-Metaheuristics works with a population of solutions. It utilizes collective behavior and diversity of the solution. Since we are working with a collection of individuals, collection of solutions, the collective behavior of the individual helps to refine the overall population. So what will happen is from generation 1, when I create generation 2, this generation 2 has a higher quality of solutions than generation 1. Again, from generation 2, if I move to generation 3, it is generally that the population, the individuals in generation 3 will collectively have a higher quality as compared to the generation 2 in terms of objective function. Okay, and since we are working with a population of solutions, diversity of solutions are maintained. Various kinds of solutions will be there in our population. Some will be very good quality, some will not be of so much good quality, but all will help collectively together to move towards better and better solution. Okay, suitable for exploring large and complex solution spaces where your problems are solution spaces are very large and complex. Then these kinds of metaheuristics are suitable. Genetic algorithm, ant colony optimization, particle swarm optimization, and so there are many population based metaheuristics. Key differences: S metaheuristics explore a single trajectory in the solution space, while P metaheuristics explore multiple trajectories simultaneously. Since it works with a population of solutions and each one tries to evolve the whole population, so there are multiple trajectories to that evolve the solution. We will see what I mean by multiple trajectories. Okay, was the question answered? The difference between S metaheuristics? Yeah. Okay, so we'll move forward. Two classes of P metaheuristics. One is evolutionary based methods. This utilizes the idea of replacement from reproduction. So we will have a generation and there will be selection of parents. So from this population, a set of parents will be selected. Some kind of reproduction will occur and it will create children. And from this population and this population will combine and create a new population. So this will be generation 1, this will be generation 2. So the evolutionary based algorithms use recombination and crossover and mutation operators. So what it will do is it will select parents from a population and there will be recombination and crossover of genetic material. So what is genetic material? So these are coming from the ideas of biology, but the ideas are very simple. From a population, we will select some parents. What are parents? Some solutions. And we will try to select those solutions which are good solutions. And we will try to combine their solutions. How will we combine? So suppose it is a knapsack problem and this is solution 1, parent 1, and this is parent 2. We will see how do we do that, but I'll just giving you idea. So we will take some portions from parent 1 and some portions from parent 2, and we will combine it to become a new child 1. So this is known as recombination or crossover. Okay, so we are trying to combine the genetic material. So over here representation is called as genetic material when we are talking about evolutionary algorithms. Okay, because in evolution genetic materials gets recombined, therefore this terminology has come from there. And what is mutation? So there is random change in some part of the representation, that is known as mutation. So the whole idea is the whole idea is in evolution based algorithm, the solution directly undergo variation operators. These variation operators are mutation and recombination. New solutions come from mixing of attributes of current individual. We are mixing the features of parents to create new child. So that is the idea of evolutionary algorithm, genetic algorithm, evolutionary strategies, scatter search. These are examples of evolution based algorithms. One is blackboard based method. What is this? Over here, solution update a shared memory. So I have a population and this population has a shared memory. This population updates the memory and then we create another population using this memory. Again, this population will update the memory and then we will create another population. This population will update the memory and then we will create another population. So the new population which we create is actually, it is not actually population, a set of solutions. And this set of solutions or populations are created because of this, using this shared memory. It is not because, it is created using this shared memory. We will see the example of ant colony optimization, which uses this shared memory to create new population. Okay, and this shared memory guides future generations. Okay, recombination is indirect through shared memory. So I have a population, it is not directly creating another population. What we are doing is we are updating the shared memory and that updated memory creates a new population. Okay, and colony optimization, estimation of distribution, and so on and so forth. Selection in P-Metaheuristics. Just a minute. Okay, some slides are, I have, okay, all right. So what I'll do is I will go like this. I will talk about evolutionary algorithm first and then I'll go there. Actually, I have misplaced the slides here and there. So what is evolutionary algorithm? It is inspired by Darwin's evolution and Mendelian genetics. It, the course principles are natural selection or survival of the fittest. So in uh, evolutionary theory, so all individuals which currently exist in nature have, that theory suggests that it has evolved generations after generations over the millions and millions of years. So from one population, the best individuals survival of the fittest, and it creates new individuals. So that phenomena is known as natural selection. Variations come through mutation and recombination. So when the individuals in the population interact, it creates new individual, and there may be some changes in the genetic material due to mutations, and using that there are variations in the individuals of the next generation. And this new individual, which are the children in the new generation, they compete among each other because we have a population and there are food resources and other resources. So this individual compete amongst each other, and then the best one survives. Okay, so this is what evolutionary algorithm is all about. Selection of selection in P-Metaheuristics. So I talked about that we will have a population and we have to select some individual or to become parents, right? And these parents genetic material will be recombined to form children, right? How will we select how will we select the parents? After generation of new solution, selection is determined by which, okay, so this talks about not selection of parents, this talks about how we select. So what does this talk about? It's talk about that I have a population 1, generation 1, I selected parents, I created children. From this children, how will I get generation 2? How should I get generation 2? So this is what it talks about. Which individuals should survive? So from this generation 1 and this children, which should go to generation 2? Which individuals from this portion and which individuals from this portion should go to generation 2? That is what it is saying about selection in P-Metaheuristics. So the question is which one to send to generation 2? So the idea is of elitism. Elitism means the best individuals. Like the survival of the fittest we are talking about in evolutionary algorithms and Darwin's theory of evolution, we will pick some best solutions from these population. So from this population and the children population, I will select the best ones, and those best solutions are known as elite solutions. And we will pick those and send it to the next generation. Now, what should we do? We should only send the best individuals, or there should be some not so good individuals as well. Because if you don't send not so good individuals, then there is a danger of premature convergence. How? I'll tell you. You see, when you only send good individuals to generation 2, you're not doing diversification. If parent 1 is good parent and parent 2 is good parent, you are only exploring some regions of the search space. This is a good region and you are exploring only these regions of the search space. You are ignoring many parts of the search space. So you should also send some not so good individual to generation 2. You shouldn't send all best individuals from generation 1 and children to the next generation. So common strategies, what you can do is replace parent entirely by the new population. So this strategy tells that what you do is when you create new children, you just take it as the new generation. Ignore everything from generation 1. Ignore everything from generation 1 and select the children to become generation 2. Replace parent entirely with the new population. Combine parent and offspring to choose the best. So you combine these two and then choose the best to come over here. This is a bad idea. We talked about why this is a bad idea, because this discourages diversification. You are only selecting good regions of the search space. You can use elitism to retain the top performing individual. So what you do is, this is the third strategy. You pick some elements, but pick those which are good. So send some good individuals and then randomly pick from the two. Something you can do, you have to devise how you get the second generation from first generation and their children. How will I get the next generation? So these are some common strategies of creating the next generation. By the way, if these ideas look abstract, because they are, when we move on to see an example of genetic algorithm, then it will become more clear what is this and what it is talking about. Okay. Initial population, how should you select the initial population? So you can either select it randomly or you can select it greedily. So randomly, suppose you have a search space, you select random. So you select this solution, this solution, this solution. You just select randomly. For example, if you have a traveling salesman problem and you have 100 individuals in your population, you create 100 random permutations, and this will become your random generation of individuals in the initial population. A greedy heuristic, what it will do is, it will use some kind of greedy algorithm to create children. But if you use a greedy algorithm, it will give you only one child. So suppose you are using nearest neighborhood search for TSP. So every time you run nearest neighborhood search, it will always give you the same solution, because it is a deterministic algorithm. What I will do is, in this deterministic algorithm, I will introduce some probability, some stochasticity I will introduce. Therefore, it will give me multiple individuals, and this can become my population. But as you can see again, since we are only working with a greedy algorithm, it will give me some good solution. It will give me a region of the search space, but it will ignore major regions of the search space. So this will not have the property of diversification. It is just intensifying. It is only picking individuals of good objective function value, so that we don't want. So therefore there is a hybrid strategy. Some parts will be random and some parts will be constructed using greedy algorithm. So this is what you should do. You should pick individuals of good quality, but also pick individuals which are not so good. So you are doing intensification by picking good individuals, and you are uh, doing diversification by picking not so good individuals. So high diversification in the initial population to avoid early stagnation. If you don't have high diversity in your initial population, you may only search some region of the search space and ignore the other region. And it may happen so that this is the region of global optima, but since you didn't have any individual in those regions, your search did not reach those regions in the search space. So you should have a very good diversity. You should have a high diversity in your initial population. Otherwise, your search will stagnate. your search will stagnate early. Any questions? Okay. Some stopping criteria. So you can have a static stopping criteria or adaptive stopping criteria. So what is static stopping criteria? You say that from generation 1, I can go to some number of generation and I will stop. So I will only explore till generation 50. Once I reach that generation, I will stop. Whatever my solution quality be, it doesn't matter. I will just explore 50 generations. So this is my stopping criteria. Another stopping criteria is time. Okay, I will run whatever generation it goes to, but I will run it for 10 minutes. Maximum number of objective function evaluated. So at each generation, you are evaluating every individual, right? Otherwise, you will not know what is the. So for a TSP, you have an individual, you have to evaluate its objective function to obtain what is the quality of that individual. So suppose it is 100. You obtain another individual, it was 120. So for one generation, suppose you have 100 individuals. So you evaluated 100 such objective function value. In second generation also you evaluate some objective function value and so on and so forth. So you can say I will limit how many individuals objective function value I am obtaining. So this can be one stopping criteria. Adaptive stopping criteria. So these are static. It doesn't take any information from your problem or search, whatever it is going on. Just static. I will do 50 generations. I will stop in 10 minutes. These are some static stopping criteria. What are some adaptive stopping criteria? Adaptive stopping criteria can be I am not seeing any improvement for suppose 20 generations. If I don't see improvement in 20 generations, I will say, okay, I think my search has matured and I will stop. So suppose you are doing genetic algorithm and you are going from generation 1, you went to generation 80. And at each generation you saw improvement. But from 80, when you got to 81, 82, and so on and so forth till 100, you saw that the best solution over here is still the best solution over here. So for 20 generations, you saw that there was no improvement in your solution. So you can just say, okay, I think my search has matured and I will stop. Another stopping criteria can be reaching an acceptable solution quality. How will you do that? You suppose you have for a suppose for a traveling salesman problem, you know a lower bound. Say that my city, when it covers all the city, the lower bound is 100. So the solution will always be more than 100. Somehow you have a lower bound, somehow, for a minimization problem. Okay, so you will say that once I obtain a solution of suppose 150 objective function value, I will stop. I will not try to go reduce further because I don't have time. I will just stop when I reach my objective function of a solution becomes 150 or less. 150 or less. Diversity of the population falls below some threshold. So this I will not talk about because it requires some more detail which I have not put over here. So this I will not talk about. Okay. We have talked about evolutionary algorithm. Now we will see how evolutionary algorithm works. So evolutionary algorithm works with a population of individual which represents possible solutions. So each individual in the generation represents a solution. Individuals are evaluated based on their fitness. So in population based metaheuristics, we are talking about fitness. Yesterday, I guess I told you that higher the fitness of an individual, the better is the solution. So for a maximization problem, fitness is actually equals to the objective function value. Higher the objective function value, the better. So higher the fitness, the better. For a minimization problem, the fitness is set as minus the objective function value. Okay. So higher the fitness of an individual, the better is my solution. So that is how fitness is defined. What are the main step? We select, so from a generation, we select a parent generation, parents, and from that parent, we will reproduce. So this is generation 1. We select the parents and we reproduce to create child. From this generation and child, we will combine together and form generation 2. So selection of parents, reproduction, and replacement. These are the 3 steps of evolutionary algorithm. Is it clear? selection of parents, reproduction among those parents, and then replacement to become the new generation. Is it clear? Any doubt? The process repeat until a stopping criteria is met. So this is the template algorithmic form of evolutionary algorithm. It says that we initialize. So this P in bracket, when I say P in bracket, this will have some number. So this P represents population. And if I have T over here, it says population at iteration T. Iteration T. So when I say P of 0, it says population as iteration 0. And iteration you can also refer to as generation. So population at generation 0. So this is population at generation 0. You generate that initial population. Whatever you do, initialize the population and set T as 0. Until the termination criteria is met, you evaluate the population. So you obtain the fitness of each of the individuals in the population, select the parents, that is P dashed, do reproduction, and then again store in P dashed, evaluate the children. So whatever the children you got, so suppose P dashed T is your children. How did you obtain? You did crossover and mutation to this selected parents. Once you did crossover and mutation, you obtain the children. You take the initial population and the children and create the new population, which is pt plus 1, and then you repeat. Okay, so that is the idea. We have talked about this. I'm just explaining again. Is it clear? Any questions? Any questions? I'll wait for a minute. If you have any questions, you can just write it down. Okay, so I think I can proceed. Genotype and phenotype. So you see, yesterday we talked about encoding and decoding. Not yesterday, I guess the day before. Encoding, which is the representation, and the decoded is the solution. So when you decode, you get a solution. So in genetic algorithm or any kind of evolutionary algorithm, this encoding is known as genotype, encoded representation. This is known as genotype or the chromosome. And this solution which we obtain after decoding is known as phenotype. This is just for telling you that what it is. It is not very important right now. To understand the algorithm, it is not required. But whenever I say genotype, you should know what a genotype is. Whenever I say phenotype, you should know what a phenotype is. Genotype is just the representation, and phenotype is the solution I am getting from the representation. Any operator which we apply, it is applied on genotype. That is, that operator is applied on the representation. Fitness is evaluated using the phenotype. Obviously, fitness or the objective function is evaluated using the solution, not the representation. A decoding function is needed. So you may require a decoder to decode the solution, decode the encoded solution, encoded to the solution, the representation to the solution. Okay. We have talked about direct encoding and indirect encoding. Is it clear? Okay. Key components of an evolutionary algorithm. First is the representation. You have to have some kind of representation for your problem, for each of your solution. So encoded solution is referred to as chromosome. We saw decision variables. So these details are not required. I'll skip these details. Okay. So you should have a representation for your problem. Then population initialization. You should initialize your initial population. We talked about how to initialize our population. Then you should have a objective function. And in our previous discussion, we saw that your problem's objective function value may not be equal to the objective function value of your algorithm. You may modify your objective function value. Selection criteria. How are you selecting your parents? We will see in our next slide. We will discuss about how to select parents. How to select parents. How to do reproduction? So reproduction, I have mutation operator and crossover operator. We will discuss this. So you see, if I just talk about again, so we have talked about initial population. We have talked about initial population. We have talked about representation. We have talked about objective function, what it is and how to modify it if it required. We have not seen selection. We will see that in our next few slides. We have not seen reproduction. So we will see that as well in our next few slides. Replacement. So we have talked about replacement, but little bit more we will see in our next few slides. But we have talked about stopping criteria. How to stop the algorithm? What should be the criterias? So we have, out of this 7, we have seen 4. We have to see 3 more. When we see these 3 more, then we will see what genetic algorithm is, and we will see an example of genetic algorithm. Is it clear? These are the key components of an evolutionary algorithm: representation, population initialization, objective function, selection of parents, reproduction of parents, replacement to become new generation, and the stopping criteria. And if you come back to the template, you see this is what we are doing. We are initializing the population, then we are evaluating the population from getting the objective function value of the individuals in the population. Just a minute. Uh, just a minute. Yeah, I'm sorry for that. So we obtain the objective function value for the uh, individuals in the population. Then we select parents, do reproduction. Again, we evaluate the objective function value of the new individuals. Then we do replacement. And this is what written here. And there should be a stopping criteria. Okay. So what is genetic algorithm and how it is done? So these the steps which we listed down for evolutionary algorithm. It is same for genetic algorithm. It is inspired by nature, mimics the process of evolution to solve optimization problem. And why have we separated genetic algorithm from evolutionary algorithm? So this selection of parents, reproduction, this changes depending upon what kind of evolutionary algorithm you are using. So when I say crossover and mutation, it is specific to genetic algorithm. If you talk about other algorithm, we don't refer reproduction as crossover or mutation. We do something else. All right. So yeah. So it operates on a population of individual, uh, and this representation over here is known as chromosome. You see there are multiple names of the same thing. Representation, chromosome, phenotype, everything is same. We iteratively improve solution using genetic operators. We do selection, we do crossover, we do mutation. It balances exploration and exploitation. How does it explore many regions? Via mutation and crossover. When you do these kind of operators, you are mixing materials, you are changing the representations of the individual to explore different regions of your search space. How are you doing exploitation? So when you are doing replacement phase, so over there you have to pick elite individuals such that you preserve good individuals in your population. And in genetic algorithm, very ironically, it is known as selection. So over here I have said selection of parents, but in genetic algorithm, when I say selection, it means how are you creating the next generation. So there is slight confusion might arise, Selection in genetic algorithm means how are you selecting the better individuals and then creating the new population. And sometimes when we say selection, we may refer to how are you picking the parents. So whenever I say selection, I will tell you what selection I am referring to. Whether I am saying selection of parents to do reproduction, or I am referring to how are we selecting individuals to create a new generation. Okay. So these selection thing is a little bit because it is referring to two different things. So I will always tell you what I am referring to when I say selection. So how is the initial population changes with iteration? Can you tell again? Yeah, I will show you. I will show you. When I do reproduction, the initial population will change and we will see how we do uh, when we do reproduction. Okay. So when I say this part, so we have talked about 1, 2, 3, and 7. How are we picking up parents to do reproduction? So this talks about how are we picking parents to do reproduction. The principle is we try to select good parents. When we select good parents, our children, it is that we are hoping that we will create good children. So we can do proportional selection or rank based selection. How it is done? These are the popular methods: Role wheel selection, stochastic universal sampling, tournament selection, or rank based selection. We will see what these are. Role based wheel selection. So what we do is we create a wheel, and suppose I have 100 individuals, and each individual will have some objective function value. We will proportionately divide this wheel into 100 portions depending upon the objective function value of the individual. The better individual will have larger area, worse individual will have smaller area. And we create a wheel. And then what we do is we have a pointer. We roll this wheel, and whichever portion this pointer stops, we say, okay, this will be selected as a parent. We again roll this pointer, suppose it stops here, so we'll say this will be selected as my parent. And suppose I am saying I will pick 30 parents, so I will roll this wheel 30 times and I will pick 30 parents. So from 100 population size I am picking 30 parents. Okay, how are we doing that in roll wheel selection? I have a wheel where this area is proportionate to the objective function value of that individual. I rotate this wheel, whichever point this pointer falls, that will become my parent. So this is known as Role wheel selection. Okay, so this is the first kind of parent selection strategy. Another is stochastic universal sampling. So in stochastic universal sampling, what we do is we have this Role wheel is there, but we don't have one pointer, we have multiple pointers. We have multiple pointers. Suppose we have 4 pointers. Whenever we rotate this wheel, we will obtain 4 parents at a time. These 4 parents will be selected for my next generation. Again, we rotate and we obtain 4 more parents. So this is what is known as stochastic universal sampling. Uses multiple evenly spaced pointers. So in over here we use one pointer individuals uh, with the large. So what will happen is whichever individual has a better objective function value, it will cover larger area in the wheel. The individuals with worse objective function value will cover smaller area in the wheel. So you see, my selection is biased towards individual with better objective function value. Okay, so this is how Role wheel selection and stochastic universal sampling works. Tournament selection. In tournament selection, so suppose I have a population size of 100. From this 100 individual, I will pick k number of individuals. Suppose k is equals to 5. So from this 100 individual, I will randomly pick 5 individuals. And among these 5 individuals, I will do a tournament. So I have 5 individuals over here. What do I mean when I say tournament? I will compare its objective function value and pick my first parent. Again, from this 100 population size, I will again randomly pick 5 number of individuals. And among that 5 number of individuals, I will see which is the best individual and that will become parent 2. So it is kind of tournament. From 100 individuals, you are every time picking 5 individuals, and among that 5 individuals, whichever is the best individual wins and becomes the parent. So this is known as tournament selection. Is it clear? Rank based selection. So over here what we do is, so you see these two are based on the value of the objective function. So suppose, so these areas are actually proportionate, but these are based on value of the objective function of that individual. And these two will not work for a minimization problem. So this thing will only work for a maximization problem. If you have a minimization problem, you see the lower the value of objective function, the better the individual is. How will you create larger regions for minimization problem? So these two are not suitable. We can do some modification to try to work it around, but generally we don't use these two for a minimization problem. It is difficult to work with a minimization problem when we do row-level selection or stochastic universal sampling. Tournament selection works because what we are doing is from the 100 individuals, we are picking 5 individual, and among that 5 individual, whichever has the minimum value, we will pick that. So that will become my parent. So for a minimization problem, it works. Rank based selection also works both for maximization problem and a minimization problem. It just says rank the individual depending upon its fitness. You rank the individual and then you do probabilistic sampling from that ranking. So suppose you have 100 individual, you rank that first best, second best, third best. So you see over here it is nothing about maximization or minimization. You are ranking the individual fourth best and so on and so forth till 100th best. Then you do probabilistic selection, select from this ranking. Okay, so over here we have talked about how to select parents. So we have covered how to select parents. This we have covered. Is it clear? We have talked about representation. We have talked about population, initial population. We have talked about objective function value. We have just covered how to select parents. And we have also covered stopping criteria. Now we will see, once we have selected parents, how will we do reproduction? Is it clear? So is nothing is confusing, right? How can the initial population change after iteration? Can you? Yes, I will tell you how will the population change. That will be done by reproduction. I guess I had answered this question earlier. So before that, everything is clear, right? Yeah. So we have seen this, these different portions. Now we will come to reproduction strategies. How to do reproduction? First is mutation operator. So for genetic algorithm, there are two um, reproduction operators, which is one is mutation and the other is crossover. So whatever move operator in neighborhood for S metaheuristics does, same mutation operator does in a population based metaheuristic. So whatever operator we use, just not just move, whatever operator we use, whatever operator we use for um, S metaheuristics. So for example, we use swap operator, we use two opt operator, we use bit flip operator. Whatever operator we used for S metaheuristics to generate a neighbor, that same operator will be used to do mutation. Okay. For example, if I have a traveling salesman problem and I have two parents, I have created a child. I will talk about how to create a child. So creation of a child is crossover. We have not talked about crossover. So we have parent one, we have parent two. We did crossover, we created a child, child one. Now from this child one, we will see whether to do mutation or not. The probability is very low, by the way. If we do mutation, so suppose we do swap and we will create child one dashed. Okay. So this is what mutation is doing. Once you have created a child, whether you want to mutate that child or not. So for binary representation, you can do bit flips. For discrete value representation, you can do change in the value. For permutation, you can do swap, insertion, inversion, anything you can do. and these probabilities of mutations are low. So this probability which I have written is generally for bit flips. So for each, so suppose you have a knapsack problem of n bits. So for each bit, whether to flip it or not, this will be the probability. So whether to flip the first bit, the probability is between 0.1% and 1%. Whether to flip the second bit, the probability is between 0.1% and 1%. And in this way, we will go through the whole representation of each individual, and whether it is flipped or not, that is a different thing, but this is how mutation works. Now we will talk about crossover. So crossover can be done in multiple ways. Okay. How can you do crossover? So suppose you have a assignment problem, and it is not a standard assignment problem. Suppose you have uh, two bins, bin 1 and bin 2, or the set partitioning problem which we are talking about, right? Okay, two bins. You have some objects over here, object 1, object 2, object 3, object 4, and over here for bin 2 you have object 5, object 6, object 7, object 8, right? So how will you represent this? So suppose you have 8 uh, placeholders. So this is in bin 1, this is bin 1, this is bin 1, this is bin 1, and this is bin 2, bin 2, bin 2, bin 2. So this is object 1, object 2, object 3, object 4, object 5, object 6, object 7, object 8. So this is my representation. So you take two parents, parent 1 and parent 2. What you do is, in one point crossover, what you do is select one point in parent 1. You pick this region of parent 1 and you make it the child's first region. Pick the same point in parent 2 and take this side of parent 2 and bring it in child 2. So this will become your child 1. Bring it in child 1 and this will become your child 1. So this is one point crossover. Is it clear? One point crossover. So for example, if you have something like this, two representation for this problem. So 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1. Okay. So suppose, and the second is 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. This is your second parent. So this is parent 1 and this is parent 2. And you randomly selected a point. So suppose you selected third point. So this is the third point and this is the third point. So child 1 will be portion of this portion. It will be 1, 1, 2 and this portion 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. This will be child 1. Child 2 will be this portion of parent 2 and this portion of parent 1. 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1. So this will be my child 2. This is child 1. This is child 2. Clear? One point crossover. Yes, got it. Okay. 2 point crossover. So what I will do is I will select 2 points. Let me erase this. So I have parent 1 and parent 2. I will pick 2 points randomly. What I will do is I will pick this portion and this portion. It will become child 1. This portion and this portion will become child 2. Clear? And endpoint crossover, you can understand how it will become. Crossover rate. So this is actually says the probability if your parent will do crossover. So it is just like mutation rate, whether you will do crossover or not. That is what crossover it is. Okay. Now you see these kind of crossovers, 1 point crossover, 2 point crossover, n point crossover, this will not work for permutation. So if you have a traveling salesman problem, and suppose you have a tour of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and another, so this is parent 1 and another parent 2 is 8, 2, 3, 6, 7, 1, 4, 5. This is parent 2. And if you do, suppose 1 point crossover, so you take 4 this side, 4 this side, 4 this side, 4 this side. and you created child 1. So what is child 1? This portion and this portion. So it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 1, 4, 5. You see, this is not a permutation. This is not a permutation. So this kind of crossovers doesn't work for permutation because we have repeated some cities and some cities are not there at all. So in that case, we use ordered crossover. By the way, this is an example. There are other crossovers for permutations as well. So how do we do ordered crossover? So let me erase some portions over here and I will make you understand. Okay, so these two are parent 1 and parent 2. For ordered crossover, you select 2 points randomly. So suppose in one of the parents. So suppose randomly I selected this point and this point. I will write 3, 4. So this is child 1. I will write 3, 4, 5, 6. Now parent 1 I am done. I will not look at parent 1 anymore. Now I look at parent 2. So this has come from parent 1. Okay, this is part from parent 1. Now I look at parent 2. And now what I will do is I will start from the beginning and start from this side. So you see from parent 1, when I did from parent 1, there were 2 positions over here left and there were 2 positions over here left. These are the 2 positions and these are the 2 positions. Now from child 2, I will look at child 2 and I will start from this side. So 8, is 8 there? No, so I can place 8. 2, is 2 there? No, I can place 2. 3, is 3 there? Yes, 3 is there. 6, is 6 there? Yes. 7, is 7 there? No, I can place 7. 1, is 1 there? No, I can place 1. So this is how I will create child 1 and this is known as ordered crossover. I will start from this position and then I will fill the other positions. Is it clear? There are other ways to do permutation crossover, but this is one such way. I didn't mean permutation crossover. I mean crossover for permutation representation. Okay. So I suppose it is all right. Now coming back. So this also we have covered reproduction strategy. Only remaining is replacement strategy. How will we do replacement? So you see, we have seen representation, we have seen population initialization, we have seen objective function, we have seen selection, we have seen reproduction, we have seen stopping criteria. The only remaining part is replacement strategy. How do we replace a solution? We have talked about this in brief. Generational replacement, entire population you replace by the offspring. Steady state replacement, either you replace one or replace the worst individual, store the elite solution, and you can do many more things. So this is a brief discussion about replacement. You can do many more things, whatever works for you. Okay, and these are some typical values for evolutionary algorithms. We will see one example of traveling salesman problem using genetic algorithm. So suppose it is a 6-city problem, A, B, C, D, E, F. The genetic algorithm will first, it creates initial routes or population, then it will evaluate, then it will select parents, do crossover, do mutation, and then repeat. Okay, it will replace the generation. I have not written it, but it will replace the and create the new generation and then repeat. Okay, so suppose the initial routes are this. You can have many more children. Suppose I have just given 3 children, but you can have a population of size 20, 30, 40, whatever you like. How will you define the fitness? So you see, this is a minimization problem. You can either say negative of fitness or you can say inverse of distance. So if a distance of 20 units is there, you can just say 1 by 20, 1 by 200. If the distance is 200, you can just say 1 by 200. This is the fitness. So higher the distance, lower is the fitness. So 200 has a fitness of this, 190 has a fitness of this, 210 has a fitness of this. So you just need inverse relationship between the objective function value and fitness. Higher is the objective function value, lower should be the fitness. Lower is the objective function value, higher is the fitness. So among this, you see, this is the best route because it has the least distance. And depending upon the fitness as well, This is selected. This is the best individual in this fitness. Okay. Now you select. So by the way, these are examples. There can be many more. There has to be many more individuals in the population. We are just giving you ideas of how to have fitness defined and do selection, do crossover, and so on and so forth. In selection, you can either do role wheel selection, but it will not be good. We talked about why it is not good. You can do tournament selection and so on and so forth. Okay. Crossover. So you can do crossover because this is permutation crossover. You can do OX crossover, or you can just do 1 point crossover with a trick, like we talked about, right? Repair strategy. If you create some child which is not feasible, you repair it. Some kind of thing we are doing. So this is parent one. This is parent two. We selected this half of the parent. So A, B, C, D. Now from parent two, you see from this side what is there. So A is there, B is there, C is there, D is there, F and E. So this portion you copy F and E. So this is your new child. So this is there is no rule that you have to do this kind of crossover. There can be multiple ways of doing the crossover. You see in the literature what it is doing, and then you can do crossover. Once you have done crossover, you have to do mutation. Over here we are doing swap mutation of 3 and 4. So 3 and 5. So these two will be swapped. Therefore, we have created this offspring. And you won't have one offspring, you will have many more offsprings. Okay. And we did generation after generation, generation after generation. After 50 generations, suppose I have obtained this solution with the objective function value of 150, and this is the best I can obtain. We don't know if it is optimal, but it should have been near optimal solution. All right. So this completes genetic algorithm. This part completes the genetic algorithm. Any questions on genetic algorithm? Otherwise, if you don't have questions, we can move on to discuss swarm intelligence or proceed with ant colony optimization. I can wait for 2 minutes if you want. You can chat with me. Okay, I see no questions. I guess I was clear, or maybe you are not able to understand anything. Either would be true. Yeah, I should proceed then. At least if you are here, you can write, yeah, understood. Okay. All right. All right. So where are we? Let's go back and see where are we. So we have completed till this portion, basics and genetic algorithm. We are just left with ant colony optimization. Once we done this, then we have completed the whatever we thought we will cover in this workshop. Okay. Swarm intelligence. So it refers to the algorithms inspired by collective behavior of biological groups. For example, ant, bees, wasps, fish, birds, etc. So collectively, how they behave, that inspired the development of swarm intelligence algorithm. What are the key characteristics over here? Individuals are agents, and these agents are simple and unsophisticated. So in genetic algorithm, each individual has a genetic material, the chromosome, the representation. We manipulated that chromosome and then we got children. So these agents in this swarm intelligence are simple. They will not have these kind of features that it has a representation. We are trying to manipulate that representation. These are not that complicated agents. These are very simple agents. They cooperate indirectly, and their movement occurs in the decision space and guided by shared signal. So in the decision space, each individual will generate a solution. Each individual will generate a solution. And once all the individuals have generated a solution, some shared memory will be updated. There is a shared memory. Once all the individuals have generated a solution, a shared memory will be updated. Once this shared memory is updated, the next in the next generation, these individuals will again generate solutions and then update the memory. Once the memory is updated, again these individuals will create more solutions, and this is how it works. It collectively tries to improve the solutions which we have. Okay, we will see how it works. Examples are ant colony optimization, artificial bee yeah, cooperation, particle swarm optimization, and so on and so forth. In this workshop, we will only cover ant colony optimization. So just a minute, I'm sorry. Okay. Ant colony optimization mimics how real ant finds shortest path between its nest and a food source. The mechanism is, so suppose there is a food source and this is the nest of the ant. How does ant know that they have to go to this area? So you will see that the ants wander around, and suppose an ant has found a food, they will, so whenever ant walks, it leaves some chemicals. These chemicals are known as pheromones. And once a ant finds a food, it will take that food and come back to the nest, leaving pheromones in the path. And other ants will see that since there are pheromones deposited, other ants will follow that path. And you will see in no time that they will create a chain, and this chain always moves together. It takes the food and comes back to the nest. If you place an object like this in the path of the ants, you will see that, so suppose randomly the ant over here can either take this side or this side. It can either go on both sides. But what happens is these pheromones, by the way, I forgot to tell you, these pheromones evaporate over time. Okay. So more ants walk in a path, more pheromones are deposited, and the evaporation rate is decreased because more pheromones are deposited, and therefore the collective collection of the pheromones in the path will increase. Okay, so this is one feature of pheromones. So suppose you have placed an object. Now some ants will go in this direction, some ants will go in this direction. Since this path is larger or longer than this path, the collective concentration of pheromones on this path will be lower than the pheromones in this path. Since one of the side is longer than the other, the pheromones deposited in this path will be lower. And eventually, as and more and follows this side, and less and follows this side, the pheromones will be erased from this portion, and all the ants will follow the shortest path. So that is why it is saying ant colony optimization mimics how real ant follows the shortest path between the nest and the food. So if you place an object in the path of an ant and the food, the path of the nest and the food, the eventually the ants will take the shorter route, not the longer route. Yes, pheromones are like memory over here. Yes, correct. For swapping and mutation also, are we randomly selecting any point where mutation? Yes, for mutation also, we will select randomly the point mutation is taking place. Okay. So mechanism in nature, and deposits pheromone trails on the path. Higher pheromone results in higher probability the path will be chosen. Shorter paths accumulate pheromone faster, and evaporation prevents early convergence. Yeah, so we will talk about this. The colony converts to the shortest path. This is the idea of ant colony optimization. All right, so I hope the idea is clear. Right. So why ant colony works? It is indirect communication through environment change. So since this pheromone is there, they are indirectly communicating with one another. And this is actually, the pheromones are the shared memory. Ants influence future ants without interacting directly. So there is no direct interaction. In a genetic algorithm, the genetic material of the parents are passed down to the offsprings, but that is not the case over here. We'll see how a solution is created, okay? That we have not seen till now. There are two key processes, reinforcement and evaporation. So as and more and takes a path, the pheromones, higher and higher pheromones are deposited and the reinforcement is being occurred. So higher pheromones are deposited in the path and the quantity of pheromones in that path increases. Evaporation, nevertheless, if high pheromones are there or lower pheromones are there, pheromones will always evaporate. But if you have higher ants taking, large number of ants taking the same path, the evaporation will occur, but still the pheromones will be higher on a path where more ants are following. Okay. So the idea is pheromones uh, evaporate and more if ants if follow the same path, there will be reinforcement. The balance prevent from both disorder and premature convergence. This is the template of ant colony optimization. So what it will do is we will first initialize a memory. And what we will do is we will initialize how many ants I want. So suppose I will have n number of ants. So for each ant will construct a path. Each ant will construct a path. After I have n paths, because each ant will construct a path, after I have n paths, I will update the memory. So once I have all the paths, I will update the pheromone. Once I have updated the pheromone, how will I update? I will evaporate and do reinforcement. I have some initialized pheromone, some shared memory. I obtained n solutions. After obtaining n solutions, I do evaporation and reinforcement and then repeat. Using the next updated pheromone memory, each end will create n paths. Once n paths are created, the pheromone update will occur and then we will repeat. There are two main phases, solution construction and for a pheromone update. We will see this using an example. Okay. So let us take an example of traveling salesman problem. In traveling, by the way, ant colony optimization is like, so this construction of solution, it is kind of greedy construction of solution. So it is locally looking at what looks best and goes there. So suppose we are talking about traveling salesman problem. So each ant will start from a city. So suppose there are k number of cities and suppose the first ant starts over here. The pheromones will say what is the probability of visiting a city. What is the probability of visiting a city? Initially, when I initialize this memory, I will say visiting all city is equally probable. So we have equal probability of visiting any of the cities. Okay, the pheromone is saying that. So the ant is over here, first ant. What it will do is the pheromone is saying you can visit any of the city. It will use a heuristic. The heuristic can be nearest neighborhood, nearest neighbor. So it will see it has the nearest neighbor of this or this. So it can select either of that. It will come over here. Then again it will come over here and in this way it generates one solution. Another ant can come over here and then again it will do nearest neighbor. By the way, nearest neighbor also there will be some probability. So suppose it will not create the same path. It may create a path like this. I will use another color. I'll show you the probability. Since there are randomness, all ants may not create the same path. Using the nearest neighbor as well, it can create some other path. Okay. So suppose the next ant created this path. This path. And the next ant created suppose this path. Like this, it creates n number of paths. Once the paths are created, you know how many ants took which paths. You know that, okay, this from A to B, I had 10 ants, 9 ants took this path. So using this idea 9 by 10, we will see how what is the expression of updating pheromones. You know that this path is 9 out of 10 likely that it would be taken. Using this idea, you will update the pheromone. Initially, everything was equally likely. You can go to any of the cities from city A, but that will be updated. Ants are more probable to go to city B, and this way the next phase will occur. Once it has occurred, we will update the pheromone, we will do a reinforcement and evaporation, and then again we will update the pheromone and the ant will create a new path. Is it clear? We will see the example. I have the complete example over here, the probabilities and everything. But is the idea clear? All right. Okay. Solution construction. By the way, these examples are all of traveling salesman problem. Huh? So think of a traveling salesman problem. I have given specific algorithm for a traveling salesman problem, but the expressions also whatever I written, it is specific to traveling salesman problem. Can be applied to other problems as well, but these are specific to traveling salesman problem. So suppose I have tau, which is a matrix I comma j, which says pheromone probability. So it comes from pheromones. What is the probability of going from I to j in terms of the pheromones? And heuristic eta ij, it says, so suppose you can just say 1 by distance between I to j. So higher the distance, lower is the probability of going from I to j. Okay. It is not probability, likelihood actually. So if the distance is higher, it is less likely to go from I to j. If the distance is lower, it is more likely that I to j will be taken. Okay. So these are the two parameters, not parameters, it will be updated, yeah, kind of parameters. The probability of going from I to j is obtained using this expression. So you see, it has two parts. It is actually this part, tau ij, is saying how likely pheromone is telling me to go from I to j. Ignore alpha and beta for the time being. Tau ij is saying how much likely I am to go from I to j using the pheromones which I have. And eta ij tells me how likely I am to go from I to j in terms of distance. Okay. And this says sum over all ij. This says sum over all ij, tau ij. So I will not say ij because from I to k, because j is fixed. I'll tell you what it means. So suppose the ant is in city I and it has some number of cities to visit and is thinking whether to visit j or not. So it is saying from I to j, the pheromone is telling me this is the likelihood of going from I to j, and the heuristic which I have, it is telling me this is the likelihood. This by from I to other cities, what it is, I to k, eta I to k. Okay, so it is like what is the likelihood of going from I to k by sum over likelihoods of going to I to some other all other cities. So it is the probability of likelihood of going to j by sum over the likelihoods of going to all the other cities. So this tells me what is the probability of going from I to city j. What alpha is doing, it is, so these are greater than 0. Alpha is influencing the pheromone. How much importance are you giving to the pheromones? If you set this 0, if you set alpha as 0, then this will become 1. This will become 1 and this will become 1. So it will become just like a nearest neighborhood algorithm. You are not giving any importance to pheromones. If beta is set to 0, by the way, you can just say that this is equals to 0. If beta is equals to 0, then you are not giving any importance to the nearest that component. How near is the city? You are only giving importance to the pheromones. So this alpha and beta tries to balance what is the influence of the pheromone and what is the influence of the heuristic. Okay. So if alpha is equals to 0, it is purely greedy heuristic. If beta is equals to 0, it is purely pheromone driven. So this gives the probability of an ant to go from I to J. When it is here, again it will obtain this probability, it will go to some other city. From this it will again obtain the probability and go to other city. And since this is probability, it can go to any city. However low the probability is, it can go to that city. But the probability is less to go to that city. And this way it will construct a path. This is for one ant. The next ant will also construct another path, the next ant and next ant. So this is how the path is constructed. We have not seen till now how the pheromones are updated. We have only seen how the path is constructed. Is it clear? We will talk about pheromone update, but before that, how the path is constructed. This is how the path is constructed, and we are talking about traveling salesman problem. Is it clear? Can you explain this formula again? Not clear. Okay. I will tell you. Okay. So when I say probability of A, it means the elements in the set A, how many elements are in the set A by elements in the whole sample space. So over here, it is not the elements, but it is saying what is the likelihood of taking the path I to J by the likelihood of taking all paths from I to all other paths. So suppose I have 4 cities, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm trying to obtain P1, 2. So this will be likelihood of taking path 1 to 2 by likelihood of taking path 1 to 2 plus likelihood of taking path 2 to 3 plus likelihood of taking not 2 to 3, 1 to 3. It will be 1 to 3. 1 to 3, 1 to 2, 1 to 3 and 1 to 4. Like, right? This will be the sum. And this will give you the probability of taking the path 1 to 2. This is not minus. I should have written it properly. Just a minute. I'll write it properly. So probability of taking path 1 to 2 is likelihood of taking path 1 to 2 by likelihood of taking path 1 to 2 plus 1 to 3 plus 1 to 4 till 1 to n. Okay. So this will give you the probability of taking the path 1 to 2. And 1 I to j, this is given like this. Is the doubt cleared? Naman? Naman asked, right? Yes, Naman asked. All right. Okay. So this is solution construction. How do we construct a solution? Now we'll see how the pheromones are updated. Pheromone update. There are two portions. First is evaporation and the other is reinforcement. So what we will do is we will just decrease it by some factor. So I had tau ij. I will make it some 9.9 times tau ij, or I can take anything. So just evaporate it, decrease it. Is it all right? This is evaporation. We're decreasing from iteration to iteration, we're decreasing it by some factor. It explores, it promotes exploration. Okay, clear? Reinforcement, you have tau, you add it something to it. So what are we adding? We are adding 1 by distance. So what it will say is from tau I to j, you add tau I to j plus distance of 1 by distance of tau I to j. So what it is doing is, you see, whatever you had, you had. Higher the distance, lower is this number. And lower the distance, higher is this number. So this in a way increases the pheromones if I and J are close. Lower is the distance, higher is this number. So it is increasing the likelihood of taking I to J. The pheromone indicator of I to J, it is increasing if the distance is low. If the distance is high, then the increase is low, right? Where inversely, the distance is in inverse relation. Is it clear? You can do other things as well. What you can do is, this is one way. The other thing you can do is, you can take, so suppose there are n ants, it creates n tours. You take the best tour. So suppose it was the third tour. Only for the third tour, you increase the pheromone content and don't increase for the other tours. You can do that as well. So you can try multiple things. Whichever works, it works. Is it clear? The idea is to enhance better tours. So if you have n tours, you take the best tours. So suppose it is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. This was the best tour among the n tours. For all the elements, all the edges, A to B, B to C, C to D, D to E, E to F, F to G, and G to A. For all these edges, you increase the pheromone element by this factor. And for other edges, you don't increase at all. Right? So this is reinforcement. You are reinforcing the so this is, you are trying to store information, the best tour information in your pheromone in the memory. Right? Is everything clear? All right, I suppose it is clear. So pheromone information, solution construction, and pheromone update. These are the design components of ant colony optimization. You have to devise a way to store the pheromone information. You have to have a heuristic to construct the solution, and you have to have a way to update the pheromone. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, I suppose there are no questions. So yeah, we have talked about this. Again, I will do for traveling salesman problem. The pheromones can be defined for each edge, and the pheromone matrix will be n cross n. The heuristic information is 1 by di. I will have this probability, which we already talked about, and the reinforcement will be this, where f of pi is the distance of the best route among n ants, and this will be my evaporation. So here is the algorithm for traveling salesman, the ant colony optimization for traveling salesman problem. We initialize the pheromone information for all edges. Suppose we take it as 0.5 for all edges. Then you can define a stopping criteria that my solution is not improving for 5 generations or 10 generations. Over here, generations means iterations. I will not say generation, iterations. For 10 number of, for 10 number of iterations, for 10 number of iterations, my solutions are not improving. That can be my stopping criteria. For each ant, what you do is you select a city, and then from that city, move to a city J with this probability. When you have moved to that city, then you remove that city from S, and then again obtain the probability of moving to the next city. And in this way, construct a solution for that ant, and then go back and do it for another ant, and do it for each of the ants. Once you do it, then you evaporate. You had tau ij, you do the evaporation, then you do the reinforcement. Once you do that, then you come back. Any questions? Is it too difficult? Or am I too boring? I don't see any response. Are you guys here? Right. Or how does evaporation then in parallel each iteration? Yep, it is. Yeah. So if you go back and revise the slides and you see my lectures again, this will be uploaded in my website. Then I guess it will take time, but you will understand it once you maybe come back to it twice or twice maybe. Yeah. How does evaporation and reinforcement work in parallel each other? So you see, evaporation is done for all the paths. In every path, evaporation will be done. So every path we will decrease the pheromone. But reinforcement will occur in the best path. Whichever was the best path, we will reinforce that path. We will say, ki, okay, this is the path, this is the best path among all the ants. So you increase the pheromone content only on that path. So you are increasing the pheromone content in the best path obtained, and you are decreasing the pheromone in all the other paths. So you see, you are trying to improve your solutions, whatever you have. So this is one strategy, reinforcing the best solution. You can say reinforce the pheromone into best solution or K best solution. You can play with it, but we are not reinforcing in all the paths. You see, best found solutions. Only for the best found solution, I am doing reinforcement. Was the doubt clear? What will the output of the first iteration look like? So you see, just we will come back over here. So suppose we started this with tau ij is equals to 0.5 for all I comma j, right? And I had 5 ants, suppose. So each of the ant created 5 roots: 1 root, 2 root, 3 root, 4 root, and 5 root. We have completed this for each, and we have completed this. What I will do is I will come to evaporation. So for all the edges, how many edges are there? This 0.5 will decrease. So tau ij will now become, suppose, 0.45 for all I comma j. We decreased 0.5 to 0.45. Now among these 5 paths, I say that this is my best path. The second path is my best path. And it was, say, A, B, D, E, C, F, G, K, H, I, J. This is my best path. For these edges, A to B, B to D, D to E, only for these edges, I will increase the pheromones. So it will be tau ij. For these edges, it will become, suppose, 0.55 for these edges. And for all other edges, tau ij will remain 0.45. For these edges, it will be 0.55, and the other edges, it will be 0.45. And then I will again say, okay, these are my new pheromones, and create new paths. Is it clear? Whoever was asking, is it clear? And you see, this probability of going from one node to the other is influenced by tau ij. Yes, the structure, the graph remains the same. I have a graph, V comma E. V is the nodes and E is the edges. That always remains the same. This tau ij, which is the shared memory, which every ant is using, that is getting updated iteration over iteration. Is it clear? Yes, okay, clear. I will see there are other questions also, I guess. Let me. Okay, I can proceed then. All right. So summary and application, key takeaway: ant colony optimization mimics real world ant behavior to solve optimization problems. It used pheromone communication and probabilistic decision making works well for traveling salesman problem, scheduling, routing, assignment, etc. And I have given some application. This completes this workshop. I was hoping to have a communication with you guys, but as I have talked with the host that it is not possible to let you unmute. So I would love to receive some kind of feedback from you via email. You can just send me how was the course in this email ID. I would love to hear from you. I did not create a feedback form. I thought it would be boring to ask you for feedback in the form. If you want, you can just write to me via email. How did you like this workshop? What would you like me to improve, or any other feedback you want to give me? I have 25 more minutes, which is a lot. If you want, I can discuss anything with you, or we can complete. Also, can you throw some light on how simulated annealing is fundamentally different? See, simulated annealing is a single solution metaheuristic. Why are you comparing with it with ant colony optimization? Can you because you see, in simulated annealing, we have one solution. We are trying to avoid local optima by allowing non-improving moves. But in ant colony optimization, I have many agents, which creates many solutions at once. I am picking the best solution the agents have created and trying to give this information to my next generation agents. So why are you comparing simulated annealing with ant colony optimization? By the way, just give me a minute. I will show you something. So this is my website. So if you come over here, I have covered many courses. So I have taught this metaheuristics before as well. So it was IIT Roorkee, NIT Roorkee, sorry, NIT Rourkela. So over there also you would find lectures. If you click over here, it will go to the lectures. These are the recordings of the lectures. And if I come back, so this is this workshop. I have uploaded the I have uploaded the okay, I will talk about that. Just give me a minute. Sorry, not this. Over here. Yes, so I have uploaded the lecture slides, but video I don't have right now. So I will upload the videos over here. You can come back and see. Okay, so that's it. In terms of exploration and exploitation. All right. So ant colony optimization does exploration how? It is doing exploration via the it has multiple ants. First of all, it has multiple ants and it is using probability. By the way, one more thing, a big difference. Simulated annealing is not a constructive heuristic. This ant colony optimization, the agents are creating the solution one at a time. It is using probability. It is picking an element and then picking the next element and so on and so forth. And simulated annealing works with complete solution and moves to the next solution. Over here, the exploration is being done by multiple ants. There are multiple ants and I am allowing probabilistic selection to select any path they want. And this pheromone, since it is starting with a value, it initially allows any path it visits, but this heuristic eta ij, it allows exploitation. So you can update alpha and beta. So if alpha is large, you are actually exploring. You are saying follow random routes, go anywhere. But if you update beta, if you take beta higher, you are saying no, I want exploitation. You take the nearest route. So this is how exploration and exploitation works. Moreover, as iterations proceed, you are updating the pheromone to limit exploration. You are saying now exploit. Now you have information of good paths. Don't explore a lot, exploit. And in simulated annealing, we are doing that using temperature. Initially, we are saying accept non-improving solutions. But as the search is maturing, more iterations are being exhausted. We are saying, okay, it's enough time. Now you do exploitation. Was the question answered? All right. Okay. All right then. So do write to me over email. How did you like this workshop? And anything you would like to change, and if you want this to continue or something like that. Yeah. All right. So I'll take my leave. Thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed the workshop and learned something from it. Thank you. Yeah, so there's one small question, I guess. Yeah, thank you. All right. Bye. So आप मीटिंग क्लोज कर सकते हैं, आप हैं यहाँ पे? हेलो? हेलो? um, हेलो? ओके,
हेलो।
सो आप मीटिंग बंद कर सकते हैं, हो गया है। ठीक है।
ठीक है शुभम जी, ठीक है, थैंक यू।
थैंक यू।